Welcome back to Self Made, everyone. This is take two of the introduction because I can't hold my laughter around this woman. I've got a very special guest for you today. You may know her by her social media content that she loves to post, maybe her rants or her hoarder and squalor content. Her name's Mrs. Muscle. She's a great friend of mine. We did a crime scene cleaning course back in June or July. We did a national cleaning competition together. So she is also Australia's second fastest cleaner, and she's also a really good friend of mine. So Arlene, thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. And you just had to get that in there, didn't you?
Well,
That's all right.
I've
I'm
got to
better
keep my
looking.
brag. I've got bragging rights forever for that.
That's all right. I'm better looking. That's why they use me in their ads. So it's all good.
Well, I think next year they're going to be using a lot more of me, so we'll see.
We'll see.
If I was them, I would use you in the ads.
We'll see. Well, we'll see.
I even said that to them when it all happened. I was like, "Are you sure you want me to be the guy that's going to be like winning this and then on all the press stuff?" And they were like, "I guess so." And I was like, "Isn't
So,
your target demographic like, people around,
me?
yeah, like that age group and like females predominantly?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll see what happens." So,
Yeah, but you're like a hot young man. So maybe that was what they were going for. I definitely think they purposely gave you an advantage.
absolutely not.
It was
They
rigged. It was
they
so
cut you
rigged.
some slack in that first round, I think it was.
What do you mean?
I
You
can't
didn't
remember
even see me in the first round.
what happened. Something happened where they should have given you a penalty, but they didn't.
No, I don't think that was me.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure of
No,
it. And
no.
then in the second one, they were going to give me a penalty for something, but I
Well, they
can't
let
remember what.
you
It was so
watch
long
me as
ago
well,
now.
they let you watch me, which I think was like that was like a whole thing. And then I started from the other side of the room, and you started next to the paper towel. Like, come on!
Did you actually start at the other side?
I started at the other side of the room, so I had to run across to get the Viva paper towel, and you got to start
I
right
didn't
next to
realize
the
that
paper
because
towel.
I won
Yeah,
by a couple of seconds.
you only won by a couple of seconds. And do you not remember one of them yelled at you that you'd left some tomato sauce somewhere?
I vaguely remember that. Yeah, my memory
It
before
was
my car
rigged.
accident's so bad. I honestly don't
Oh,
remember much
is
of that.
it?
Yeah, I don't remember anything from the start of this year up until I'd say May.
I didn't know that.
The couple memories I have is when we got dinner
Yeah.
afterwards. I remember getting there and then them giving me a drink, and I vaguely remember talking in front of a camera before we started doing the cleaning. But everything else is a blur to me. So, but
Really?
that's how we met though. So that was a
That,
great
well,
day.
that's how we met in person. But let's talk about how we first met, Jason.
Yeah, let's talk about how nasty you can be online.
Go on, you want to?
Do you want to give your version of events and then I'll give mine?
Well, I had no idea it was you. So I met Jason in person first time at the Australia's fastest competition, Australia's fastest cleaning competition. And he was real funny with me. I thought it was like a real standoff guy. Wouldn't look at me, wouldn't talk to me. I tried to smile at him and he just kind of ignored me. And I was like, who is this asshole? Anyway, wasn't it until we went to dinner that night that you told me that it was probably a few years before you said you'd posted something on Facebook about building websites for cleaners. So we've got a group Facebook page that's for cleaning business owners only. And you'd said you were going to build websites for people and help them out. And I'd commented, had I taken a look at your website and seen that you'd got like heaps of backlinks, but they were all Vietnamese,
Yeah, and a backlink for anyone who doesn't know is like another website giving a link to your website.
which all basically gives it like authorization, well, authenticity, doesn't it? And authorization,
Yep.
and it's what helps you rank in. So I was like, who is this guy? Like, this guy's offering to make these websites for super cheap, and he's got all these crap backlinks. And I think I commented something along those lines on your post, didn't I? Both me and
Yep.
my son did.
Yep, they ganged up on me, didn't they?
We did. But look at who it made you now. I made you.
It definitely made me resilient because I harbored that resentment for a long time. It was
I
hard for
could
me to
tell.
sleep at night because I'm like, does this Mrs. Muscle character really hate me? And then when I found out that you were on the casting call for this little thing that we were on, I was actually starting to dread it. I was like, because I was
Oh
thinking like you would remember me, but I don't think you even did remember that. So I was leading up to that, I was like, I don't know how she's going to be towards me. I think she hates me. I don't know why. But then I get there and you start cracking jokes, and I'm like, oh, this is fine, I guess.
yeah, it was all fine. I think when all that happened, because it was really early on when I'd started cleaning, I was not in a good place in my life at that point anyway. So I was like a pretty angry individual. And I think just like the smallest thing used to give me, I don't know, an opportunity to have a bit of a rant. And obviously you were just on the receiving end of that one day. And then yeah. But then didn't we leave a review for each other a couple of years later?
I think we did it a couple months after because you posted something. You dealt with a crappy customer and then they left you a bad review or a fake review or something. And then you asked if some other business owners could give you a review and then you would give one in exchange. And so I was like, I'll jump on that. And then you gave me a good review and I did the same for your business. I don't even think, maybe I didn't connect the dots and realize that was you because your name was AJ Bate and I didn't relay that back to Mrs. Muscle. So maybe I didn't realize.
I wonder if that was yeah. I don't remember asking or whatever. Well, it's all good. We're all good. We're like best buds
It all
now.
worked out, and that just goes to show no matter how much you think someone hates you, it can actually result in a great prosperous friendship,
Trenches.
can't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But so yeah, this episode is kind of be split into two. We're probably just gonna shoot the shit in the first one, and then in the second one we'll focus more on the business side of things. But because I'm good friends with Arlene, we will just chat a little bit. So if you don't want to hear us talk about nothing and waffle on, you can skip to the next one.
Skip this
Uh,
episode.
but we're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about because Arlene's someone I look up to in a business sense as well. She's done very well with her business. So I want to talk about that a bit later. But for now, we'll talk a bit about you and get to know you as a person. So I want to start with the name of your business, Mrs. Muscle. Obviously, we know where that comes from. So tell us a bit about your background in bodybuilding because I find that to be very interesting about you.
God, wow. So I started built bodybuilding in 2015. So it started when my son um was having some troubles at school. So he was having some mental health challenges, and I ended up sending him back to the UK. I think I sent him back there for maybe 4 or 5 weeks to spend some time with family. So for anybody that doesn't know, I'm from the UK and I moved over here in 2007 with him when he was 9. And then we've been together on our own ever since. And whilst he was there, I was like, what, I don't know what I'm going to do with my time. And I started the gym. And literally, somebody within the gym said to me, why don't you join this like 8 week challenge and let's just see where it goes? And I ended up winning the Victorian challenge. And then somebody was like, why don't you start bodybuilding? And I think just gave me something else to focus on in my life. So 2015, I did my first comp. So I competed in figure, which is not, I like to say that's like real bodybuilding. So it's not bikini where just skinny girls get on stage. Like I had to train really hard. So competed in 2015. Then I competed nationally and won nationally for the INBA. And then yeah, I competed again in 2018, but found it much harder then because I was in a much more stressful job. My body hated what I'd done to it the time before. But still maintained the passion for the gym. So literally that where the name came from. Because of course everybody used to know me in the gym. Was one of the muscly chicks in there. And I thought it was rather apt.
And what I find really fascinating is that you've done that completely natural. You haven't used any steroids or anything, and you can tell that's true because your voice, you don't sound like me. So,
All the
so
bad
yeah,
use.
yeah, exactly. So you've obviously been very disciplined and committed to that, and I think that's probably translated into your business a lot. So, what are some takeaways that you've kind of found in bodybuilding that have been transferable to business in a sense of like I said, discipline, just the work
Yeah.
ethic you have, and also being able to follow a routine like you had to do with diet and the working out side of things.
Yeah, I feel like the similarities are mainly in like the discipline and the motivation. So There's days when I feel like all business owners probably wake up in the morning and we're so exhausted, or we have to work on the weekends and we don't want to, or we're working long days. But if you have the discipline, then that's what makes a successful business. I think you can't run a business half-assed. So I definitely feel the discipline from the bodybuilding relays into the business and the motivation, but also the desire to be the best. You
Mm.
know, all the way through prepping for comp, a lot of people pay attention to lots of other people that are around them when you're in the bodybuilding world. It's kind of like the cleaning world. I feel like the cleaning world is like a bit of an underworld. If you're not in it, you don't understand what goes on in it. And a lot does go on in the cleaning world. And bodybuilding is exactly the same. When you enter that world, it's like an underworld. And I think a lot of people focus on other people when they're prepping and getting ready for comp as opposed to on themselves. And I feel like that's literally just what I did. I only focused on myself, and it's pretty much the same in business. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to a lot of people in this industry and in this world. I focus on my business, what we're going to do, where we're going to go. I'm different to a lot of other businesses, even in what we do. And I think that focus probably comes from yeah, it comes from bodybuilding and has come through life with me as well. Being a single parent's done that too.
Yeah, that's equally as tough. That's probably the toughest thing that you can do. I
Mm.
know a lot of ex-athletes who went on to build really great businesses, and I think that is because of the discipline. The discipline side of business is probably paramount to anything else. Like when I started my business, I didn't exactly have discipline, but I just kept doing the same thing over and over again because I didn't really have anything else to get distracted by or turn to. And back to what you were saying about just wanting to be the best, I found that interesting as well because there was studies done into professional athletes and especially Olympians in particular, and they wanted to find out what really motivates them and drives them. And what I found interesting is that it's not actually the desire to win that's what drives them to be the best. They just hate losing. So do you feel that as well, that you just hate losing, but if you win, it's like you don't really feel you feel indifferent about it?
Say that again. So if you want to be you want to win, but if you don't win, you feel indifferent about it.
You're like being the best, that comes with winning, but
Yeah.
when you do win, you don't really feel any different about it as opposed to losing. So do you feel like you hate losing way more than you like winning? If that makes sense. I don't think it,
Ooh.
am I making sense?
Yeah. So do I like winning more than I hate losing? Yes, I love winning more than I hate losing. Although that's a tough question because I also do hate losing.
Because I'm the opposite. I hate losing and I feel indifferent about winning.
Do you?
I feel much more strongly about losing than I do about winning.
Is that though? Are you a person who's good at everything that they do?
I've been told that. I don't want to sound up myself and say it, but
Because I feel like I'm a person that just is good at pretty much everything that I do. I was good in every job that I ever went into. I excelled in every job that I ever went into. I was great in every sport that I went into. So I wonder if it stems from the winning is no not maybe no not so much of an adrenaline rush, so the fear of losing is greater. I don't know.
yeah,
I
I
don't know what
think
the
it is
psyche
that.
is behind that.
I think it is the fear of losing is much greater than the desire to win. So that's something I
Is
found
it because
interesting about that.
I wonder if it stems into that whole like being a failure,
Like, yeah, the
losing
whole
means being a
inferiority
failure.
complex kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
probably.
I was just wondering if you feel that way in business where like um a lot of the time I'll compare myself to other businesses. I did it a lot more back then as opposed to now, but have you ever found that you've been in a position where you're comparing yourself to other people's successes and feeling lesser than that, or have you always just been tunnel vision
Yeah, I
focused?
absolutely feel like, particularly in the cleaning world, where there's been a couple of influencers that I've put on a pedestal and probably shouldn't have done
Yeah.
because, well, I'm just my own individual, my own person, and I'm successful in my own right. So I should, like, I just don't think I should have done that. So,
Yeah, I've got a really weird complex about all that because obviously success is relative. A lot of people tell me I'm successful, but I don't feel like I'm anywhere near where I want to be. So, in my own respect, I don't feel like I am successful. Um, and I think a big thing is as well, like I've read about this and I've listened to podcasts about this, and I think the three common threads of successful people is that they have a sense of superiority. So they think that they're better than other people, which is kind of like what you and I are like. We feel like we're better. We feel like we can be the best. But there's also a sense of inferiority there, which is like contradictory to each other, where we feel like we can be the best, but then we start comparing ourselves to other people and we're like, maybe I'm an imposter here. And like I dealt with that a lot in my first couple of years, and it's getting better now because I'm continuing to prove to myself again and again that I can do it and that I am better than what I thought. Um, but did you ever have times where you felt like you just wanted to throw in a towel and really give up, or was that never even a thought for
I
you?
feel like because we're at different, like we're obviously vastly different in age. I'm like more than twice your age. I'm obviously like a bit further on in life. So I feel like if we were talking about 21-year-old me, 23-year-old me, 25, 27, probably, I reckon, because I came from big, like I was a corporate manager at 19. And then I pretty much like left all of my jobs because they wouldn't give me a further role, like a higher management role. And I feel like probably every single one of those jobs that I entered and did, I feel like I probably did have that kind of like imposter syndrome. But running my own business, I don't feel like that. This is the longest job I've ever held. I've pretty much nearly always like grade quit all of my jobs or been naughty and whatever from all my corporate jobs. This business is actually the first time where I felt like I can actually just be me and I'm free to be me and I'm free to run my business how I want and I'm comfortable running my business as I see fit.
That definitely resonates on social media as well. You're obviously very outspoken individual when it comes to talking about your own experiences. So I want to backtrack a little bit and ask how you kind of got into social media. What was the push behind it? Did you just want to share your story? Did you just want to document your journey, or how did you kind of end up doing social media?
Literally none of those things. So I originally started working on Airtasker when I first went out cleaning. I was getting all my jobs from Airtasker. And then because I'm a gobby shite, I got banned from Airtasker. So then I had no way of getting income. So then I moved to Facebook and then I just became a bit of a bulldog on Facebook. So that was actually where most of our business came from, probably for the first 2 years. But then late on in COVID, my son's best friend actually refused to get the jabby jab. So he was fired from his job and needed a job. So literally, I was like, well, maybe you can come on board and you can start doing some social media. So if you scroll right the way down on my page, my son's best friend, Adam, is actually on there quite a bit. He was the one that started doing Instagram and TikTok. I had absolutely no interest in it whatsoever. And then he left and went for another job. And I just kind of just, I don't know, I feel like I got the imposter syndrome on Instagram because obviously I'm quite active on the stories. So it's hard to talk to the camera, talk to the people, and show yourself. But then I don't know, I feel like just one day I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna just be me. And then, yeah, as you know, now I've got like 150,000 followers almost between Facebook and Instagram. So it was never, and then it just transitioned into feeling like people needed to be educated. So I feel like last year and this year, my Instagram was about educating people about mental health in illnesses, particularly surrounding like the hoarding and the squalor cleans. And then obviously with that, my own persona is developed within the platform. So it was never ever really actually about me. It was really about the business initially, giving somebody a job, and then it was about education. I feel like it's still a lot about education, but then also about me.
That's the good thing as well, is that if we don't really share who we are as people, we're just a commodity. We're all just cleaners. But
Yeah.
you talking about your own values and your own beliefs and all the things that interest you and stuff, that's what will separate you from the next person who does what you do. And I think that's largely why you've built such a big following, is because your personality really does shine through in your posts. So, and when you started social media, were you doing the hoarder and squalor cleans, or were you just doing vacates at that point?
I feel like I think we were just doing vacates at that point. Yeah.
Right. And so how did you kind of transition into hoarder and squalor? Is it something you've always been interested in?
No, but this is the really weird thing because all of my corporate jobs, every single one, have been within the medical industry to some capacity. So nursing, cosmetics, OT, gastro, and aged care predominantly. So we got a call, I would say it was probably 2021, maybe. Yeah, I reckon it was 2021. And it was Christmas time. We were supposed to be closing down. And I got this call from this woman randomly who said that her brother had passed away and mum couldn't come home to the house until her son's room had been cleaned and it was in a really bad state. So I originally sent two of my staff members down. We had no idea what it was that we were expecting. And when they got there, they rang me and they were literally like, oh my God, you need to come down because you're going to have to help us with this. It was full to the ceiling of VB bottles, empty cigarette packets, vodka bottles. Like it was just really, really bad. So we all worked like a Trojan on that day. We literally just got it done. We got it emptied, got it cleaned, took us all day. It was one bedroom. And we came out of that and all of us were like, wow, that was actually really good.
When you walked in there, did it click for you? And were you like, this is what I think I want to do? Or did you feel overwhelmed? Or how did you feel when you walked in?
We always feel overwhelmed when we go into these jobs. For the first maybe 10 minutes, we nearly always all feel overwhelmed and we all are like, "Right, where do we even start?" But then we just do. And once you get going, you just work it out. There is no plan for these kind of jobs because they're all so different. You can't plan for them at all. The only plan that you can have is that you separate your team. You do the rubbish and then you do the clean. Those are the only plans you can have before you get there. I feel like what I found was different with these, which is what I really like. We all know I can't stand entitled clients. It's my biggest thing on social media. We don't do domestic cleaning because I cannot stand entitled domestic clients. But these people need help and they're always really appreciative of the work. And I feel like we've done good. And I think that's maybe what the difference is between normal vacates and domestic and this kind of work is that we really genuinely feel like we're helping people and that makes us feel good.
Yeah, well, look, you're not wrong about entitled clients in domestic. The other day we had an email come through from a long-time
Yeah.
client, and they said it looks like the cleaners forgot to mop. And so my manager asked me, she's like, what should I do? Should I just give them like half off? And I said, hang on, I'm looking at the photos now and all the floors are glistening. They're shiny. They've clearly been mopped. And so Stacey was like, okay, I'll call her up. And so long story short, she finds out that there was a tiny mark missed in the kitchen pantry on the floor. And that has resulted in her emailing and saying that it looks like the cleaners forgot to mop altogether. And so I ended up giving her like a $10 discount as to kind of say like, this is a joke, but
It's a
this
joke.
is this is me showing you that I think this is a joke. You can have $10 off, and if that is really going to move the needle for you, then cool. But just we deal with that a lot. It's like one of those things. It's kind of like a dichotomy to that you just kind of had to work with. It's like the downside of the upside of the business because like the upside is really good, but then it comes with all of that, and there's going to be, I
Mhm.
assume, a lot of downside that comes with the upside in what you do as well. Like I know chasing payments can be a difficult thing, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, it is fascinating how different our businesses are. And even though it is cleaning, like if you dropped me in your position and vice versa, we would have no
Oh,
idea how to run the other person's business. They're just so different.
I'd probably have a meltdown. If I
But
came into yours, I'd probably have a meltdown.
yeah, we probably operate very differently as well. Like I am naturally very good at dealing. I wouldn't even say dealing with stress because I just don't feel stress. Um, Whereas like Stacey has always told me that she really feels the stress of the job, and so we've had to work around that and change the role a bit. But that's just how I operate. I don't know if you're the same. How do you feel about stress? Do you think you operate under stress a lot?
I feel like I operate at my best under stress, but also at my worst. Probably the people around me, I become a lot more reactive when I'm stressed and maybe a bit more snappy. Leon is the same as you, though. Nothing ever seems to get to Leon in the same way. But I feel like for me, it always feels personal, which is something that I need to work on. That's one of my
Yeah.
goals for 2025 is working on that it's not personal, but it just still always feels that way for me.
Yeah, you're very similar to Stacey in the sense that like it's a double-edged sword for her because,
Yeah.
like you said, she can either operate very, very well under stress or she takes everything personally and it can just cause her to have a breakdown.
Mm.
But then she's told me that I'm like a thermostat. I'm always just maintaining the same level of temperature. I'm never up and down. I'm just always like this. And so I thought that was a really a really interesting way to put it. So yeah, but I want to ask you some fun questions now. So
Okay.
we talked about the businesses we're in. What business do you think that you would be in if it weren't cleaning? Is there anything that you wanted to get into before you started a cleaning business?
Not before I started a cleaning business, but I always wanted to be a lawyer. I think I would have been absolutely the fucking best lawyer ever. I'm so tenacious. I think I would have wiped the floor with everybody I would have come across in the courtroom.
I can see that. If you were before a jury, you would be able to talk their heads off into whatever decision you want.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you do it for free anyway.
I could never do it though because I had my son so young. It was just never an option. I needed to survive and support us, and going to school was not going to do that.
It is a ridiculous amount of work as well. I know
Yeah.
people that do it and they don't even, coming out of university, they don't even make much money. And it's like, I really don't understand some university pathways and why people decide to go down them knowing what the trade-offs are and then what you're going to be getting paid as soon as you come out. It's like, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me.
It's a long, I feel like being a lawyer and being a successful one and making lots of money is a long, hard slog.
The successful lawyers I know about three, they work 24/7. And like we as business
Mm.
owners do, but we have a level of autonomy and liberty over that. Whereas I feel like
Yeah.
people who are employed professionals who work, quote, all the time, they are just slaves of the system. They have to work all the
Yeah.
time. And if they don't, their job is at stake.
Yeah. You see, yeah, it's just that's like a whole level of stress that is. That's exactly what I feel like I felt like in the corporate world, particularly my last two jobs, was that I was expected to be on call 24/7 and perform all the time and at 100%. And it was impossible.
What was the turning point for you when you were in your professional career where you just decided that enough is enough and you want to go off on your own?
Well, it was the last job that I had. So I was a manager at aged care. So I was managing a 146 bed aged care facility. It was quite a big one. But I had a really narcissistic boss. I had a boss that was just an absolute wanker. And I feel like he made my life hell. I was also in this process of building a house at that point as well. So I built my house in November 28. Like 2018 was a really stressful financial year because I got one home, single mom, building a new one on my own. And he kind of like played into that because he always loved to have staff that had huge financial responsibility because he felt like it made them loyal to him, but he would also use it as a weapon. Um, and in that job, I actually ended up suing them for adverse action. So I wasn't being paid entitlements that I should have been paid. So I ended up taking them to court. But what happened was, in a really, really short space of time, I like went off sick, started a court application. I was told my nan was going to die in the UK. So I flew to the UK with like no notice, literally got on a 5 a.m. flight, went over to the UK. Whilst I was in the UK, my son got severe depression because he was here on his own, didn't get out of bed and didn't eat for 2 weeks. I came back to like a really depressed son. I had to go to court. I lost my job. Well, I forced them to make me redundant. And then my fucking car caught on fire. And all of this happened within a space of like 4 months. And I feel like mentally, I just had no capacity to go back to the corporate world. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just knew internally that I could not go back into that kind of world anymore. And I had to find something else to support myself.
I mean, it really can't get worse than that, can it? That's
No. So I like to say I went from, if I ever start a podcast, it's going to be called From Corporate to Cleaner.
I like that name. I don't
Yeah.
like the fact that you'll be competing with me.
I feel like I have never started a podcast because I don't really know who my audience is. I feel like is your audience predominantly like cleaners,
Yeah, so business owners listen to self-made,
business
yeah.
owners? Yeah. Whereas I feel like I don't know who my audience would be. I don't feel like it would be
I think you
all
would be
business
much more
owners.
mainstream where like anyone would be able
Mm,
to listen to you because
yeah.
you could just talk about stories of the job, your own personal life. Like you've got a very large Rolodex of stories that anyone would be interested to hear. Whereas me, like I have stories to tell, but it's really only to the cleaning business owner market. So that's my demographic.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like yours could be very widespread.
Yeah, which is why I don't know who my audience would be. That's why I've not started. So the idea is there. It's been there for ages. I just have not done it.
Well, the best thing to do is just put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I probably should. You can be my first guest.
Wouldn't that be great? Oh, and speaking of, you are my 50th episode. So this is a
Woo!
very, very special one, and I've wasted it on you. No,
Special.
I'm kidding.
God,
But
I'll come
no,
back for your 100th as well.
if you're
I might be
alive by
dead
then.
by then, though.
Yeah. They're gonna be you're gonna be those fossil fuels they're burning. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what fossil fuels are.
You don't know what fossil fuels are? It's
No.
like coal. Surely you know what coal is.
I know what coal is, but what's
Then
the
you know what a
connection
fossil fuel.
between but fossil fuel, it's actual like fossils from the ground, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's how coal is made. Oh my gosh. You didn't in schools, I didn't what are they teaching you nowadays?
I left when I was 14. How many fossils are in the ground? How many fossils are
What
left?
everything that dies goes into the ground. Everything that dies that goes into the ground and creates fossils.
Yeah, but if a plant dies, it doesn't become a fossil.
No, but every animal does. And there's billions of animals.
I don't understand that at all.
I'm not here to give you a
I
bloody
think that's why I'm
scientific lesson.
cleaning. But yeah, what the hell are we talking about? Oh yeah, so this is the 50th episode. I don't know how I've made it this far. I don't know how I've done 50 episodes, predominantly
What a
just
great
talking
thing
to
though.
myself.
I know. Do you find that weird?
I'm so used to it now that I actually kind of enjoy it because I know like I have a day every week where I sit down and record a podcast, and that's like my wind down time because my week is very hectic, very chaotic, and fast paced. And then I know that when I sit down and record a podcast, like I'm just chill and I'm just talking about my week or my day or about a topic, and it's actually like a very nice part of my routine now. So. But yeah, when I started, I was probably like 3 or 4 episodes in, and I was like, "How the hell am I going to keep this up?" I barely know what to talk about, let alone how to keep talking for that long. But I guess like anything, you get better at it. And I'm at the
Yeah.
point now where I could talk for hours. And um, if people are going to listen to that, that's a different question altogether. But the point is, I can do it now. So
I feel like people do listen to you though.
apparently so, because people always message me, or there's actually been someone who's come up to me in public before and have said something about me that they would have heard from the podcast. And because some people will find the podcast and just binge everything all at once, they'll bring up something that I talked about a year ago.
And you're like,
And and it's something I've forgotten about. And I'm like, how the hell do you know that about me? I don't even know that about myself. So yeah, but it's also cool to have like a time capsule of all the thoughts from your head over a period of time,
mm,
which is like one of the
yeah,
reasons why I started the podcast. Is because I want to look back on this in a year, and I've already done this with my first couple of episodes, and just to see the evolution of my journey from day one to now. And like I'm much better at speaking now. My the things I talk about seem a lot more hashed out. And even though I don't go off script, I just feel like there's naturally a much better tone and structure to everything I say. And
yeah,
that's like this might surprise people, but that was one of the things that I was always a bit insecure about when I was younger and growing up is that I was really bad at speaking. My parents and like other kids at school, they always told me I mumbled too much and that I needed to speak up. And like, but I thought I was, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing wrong. Um, so yeah, speaking has always been a really weak point for me, but like my whole brand now is kind of tied into my
You,
voice. Like
yeah,
all my TikTok videos, it's me talking, and so I've just
yeah.
naturally gotten better at it. I feel like the same with you. You talk so much on social media that you've become a bit of a wordsmith yourself. So if you launched a podcast, I'm sure you get a ton of people, especially with the audience you already have.
I feel like I talk maybe a bit too much sometimes, but if people are watching, then people are watching.
It makes for a lot of good content, though. Do you ever, obviously, you're going to get a lot of trolls just naturally with the amount of people that you have
Yeah.
watching your videos and consuming your stuff. Do you ever feel any type of way about some of the comments you get? Does it ever get you down, or are you pretty resilient to that now?
It really never gets me down, and I see it as an opportunity to let my alter ego Barbara out. So Barbara is able to reply to those ones. So it never really gets me down. It actually gives me a bit of fun, if I'm honest. I think it's funny.
I'm really critical of myself. So whenever I get comments, which isn't often, but if anything pops up, I will take it to heart a little bit, which I
Oh,
know I need
you
to
probably
deal
need
with.
to,
So
because these people don't know you. These people on social media, nobody on social media, nobody on this podcast, they all think that they know you, but they do not know you at all. Like they know what you put out there, but they don't know who you are as a person. They don't know anything about your life, really. Probably know a bit more about my life than yours. But yeah, I think it's funny. It never ever actually gets me down, and I never ever go to sleep at night thinking, "Oh, I can't believe that person said that about me," because I usually respond in kind.
yeah.
And if you notice, a lot of my videos I do say on there, they give a warning. If you want to post a shitty comment, then expect a shitty response.
I guess one thing we have to realize as well is like that is, for the most part, it's going to be someone's first encounter with you. That's going to be their introduction to you. It could be a video of you ranting about someone and they have no other knowledge or experience with you besides this one video that they've seen. And then they might develop an opinion based on that and want to crusade you for it. And so I've gotten that a few times, and it's kind of shook me a little bit. And even like when I do brand deals, I'm sure you know this as well because you've done a few yourself. But when they send you the brand brief, they're like, disclaimer, you will get hate comments, but we have nothing to do with that. So, you know, just beware of
Well,
that.
I've never done a brand deal, have I? I just signed my first one with Crud
Is
Cutter.
is that right? Oh yeah, I've just finished my video for that one as well.
I don't even, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Have you never
No
done
idea what I'm doing.
a branded
I've,
video? I thought you had.
no, I've never done a branded video.
Because what about you did something with someone? Was it Scrub Daddy? You did something
No,
with them.
no, we've talked about it, but they've never come to the party. So I have
Wow.
never done a brand deal. Never.
That really surprises me. Well,
Well, it
hopefully you
probably
start doing
doesn't when
more of
you
them
watch
because
me on social media.
I was going to say though, you would be like the perfect person for it because you've got a great
Would I
business
though?
that you can center the brand deal around and you can integrate it into what you do. And I think you're also a really good spokesperson for it.
Yeah, but am I though? Because I'm outspoken. Like, do they want that kind of person as their brand? I don't know. Sometimes maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they like that I've got character and persona, but maybe it's also a bit scary having somebody out there that just says what she thinks to the world.
I guess maybe for people that don't know you as well as I do, but you are outspoken, yes, but you're not in any way like a bad person. So you don't really want to be, because I feel like that has a negative connotation where you say you're outspoken and that by default means that you're outspoken about negative things, which isn't true. You're just someone that is very transparent with her opinions, which is something I really value about you. I'm very much the opposite. I reserve my judgment and opinion a lot online, but as you
I
know,
feel
behind
like
closed doors, I'll talk a bit.
feel like that's probably also where maybe like your business and your branding is also built off your social media, where I feel like my business, my branding isn't, and my social media is just a byproduct of my business. So we've talked about this before, where I've said I don't actually care all that much about social media. I enjoy my Instagram, but I don't care about it. It's not where my business comes from. There is work that comes from there, but it's not where the main part of my business comes from. And it would not affect our business in any way, shape, or form if I just didn't have social media anymore. And I think that allows me to have the freedom to not worry so much about my social media. You know, there are a lot of creators out there and cleaning creators who that's what they're aiming for. They want to get all these brand deals, whereas I don't really care whether I do or I don't.
Yeah, it's like my main business, like I built Enhanced to around $1 million a year in revenue before I'd even made my first TikTok video. And so I
Mm,
always said to myself, I will never rely on a social media platform because it can get banned, which is what's happening in the US with TikTok, supposedly. People can just forget about it. They can move to a different platform. You can get banned from the platform, which is what's happened to many people. So I've never
get
wanted to
hacked.
put, yeah, exactly. So I've never wanted to put much of my eggs in that basket. Obviously now I have my coaching thing, but that's that's it all comes from social media, but at the same time it's kind of like a passion project for me. It's not in the sense of like Enhanced is my main business, but that would not be affected whatsoever by any sort of social media. Whereas a lot of people I see, their whole business, the cleaning business, is built on top of social media. And I'm like, well, what if something happens to TikTok, or what if something happens to Instagram, and all of a sudden you've lost your entire brand presence and your means of getting customers? Like that is a very scary thought, and it's always something I kept in the back of my mind. And like now, like the supplementary income is good, like brand deals and stuff, and that's okay. But for the amount of effort we put into videos, as you would know, it's really
Not
not
all
worth it
that
in the grand
great.
scheme of things. Yeah. So if I lost it, it would sting a little bit, but I can do without it because I got my main business. And then on the bright side, I would have way more time to invest back into the main thing that's actually paying my bills.
Yeah. I might have to reach out to you after the show to ask your advice about the what the F I'm supposed to do with this crud cutter because they've come back and said send us through your content ideas, and I'm like, I've no idea.
Oh, you haven't even done that yet. These brands are so funny as well because they will email me and they'll say, "Oh, the deadline is next week," and then I'll talk to Scott and Gabby, and they're doing the same one, and they've been told they have 2 months, and I'm like, "Why am I told the deadline is next week when there is no deadline?" Um, so, but they told me a similar thing. My one is I think going out on Monday.
Oh, is it?
Are you doing the three products?
No, only one at this stage.
Why does everyone make it so much harder for me? They're getting me to do all three products.
No, only one, and I only have to produce one 15 to 30-second reel as well. So that's like, I mean, I feel like it's a pretty easy one to do for my first one. Um,
It is actually
let
a
me
good
just watch.
product.
It's a great degreaser. We have used Crow Cutter before, which is why we don't use it all the time in our business. We haven't used it actually for a long time, but we did used to use it. So it's a product that I'm happy to use, and we want to use it on one of our really bad cleans. So we've got to wait. We'll have to wait for one of them to come up to be able to use it. But they don't want me to use the kitchen, which is fine by me. So I'll probably use the bathroom because they're usually the worst anyway in our cleans.
Yeah, that content will do really well, and they're going to love that.
Mm.
Yeah, they told me they want me to do all three products, which is interesting. And I'm doing a TikTok plus a reel, and so I didn't really expect much from it because I wasn't familiar with the brand. But like, I used the carpet cleaner thing, and I just sprayed it on some stains on a carpet, and they literally just disappeared. And I was actually really surprised by that. So the products are good, and I'm happy to push it out because, as you know, I don't want to work with brands that I don't really like, and I know
Mm.
that you're very much the same. So, like, if I got those products and they weren't good, I wouldn't have done anything. But seeing as they were at Bunnings, and I did a little bit of research into the chemical SDSs and stuff, it seemed like they were good, and
Yeah.
turns out they are. So that's fun. But I'm sure this is going to be the first of many brand deals for you because it seems like your social presence just keeps growing and growing, and you're already at 150,000. I did my first brand deal when I had like 3,000. So you've already got a
Mhm.
massive audience there that can be monetized, and the big brands are going to love that.
Yeah. And we're going to focus on TikTok next year.
What do you think about the whole TikTok ban?
I
I
don't
I
think
honestly I don't think it'll
I don't
really
really
happen.
know what's going on. I don't really know much about it because I don't watch the news. I don't do a lot of scrolling on social media, so I don't really know what's going on.
I don't know a lot about it either, but I think the main thing that they're arguing is that TikTok promotes a lot of negative stuff, like it can lead to like self-harm, that sort of stuff. Like,
Suicide.
yeah, but they're trying to make it illegal based on that, and I think that violates the constitutional right of free speech. So I I don't think it'll really go through unless
Is it
they're
just
unless it's something to
America?
do with China, yeah, just the US. Unless it's something to do with Chinese like data collecting of US citizens and stuff. I don't know. But apparently they gave TikTok an ultimatum of either sell to a US company or we have to take your app off all US app stores. And so I don't know what's going to happen. But if the US gets hit, if US users get banned from the app, that's going to have a knock-on effect for everyone else in the world. And I don't really see TikTok staying very popular with Western society if the US is kicked off it. But I don't think it's going to get to that point because it doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, let's see
But
what happens. Shame to all those who've built a great TikTok following and not focused on all the other platforms as well.
exactly, I've been trying to build my Instagram up, but it never
It's
really
hard.
takes off. I've done like three reels that did okay. I haven't even had a reel that's gotten past 500,000. So yeah, I haven't really cracked that Instagram code yet.
Sorry, I just lost you for a second then. What did you say?
I was just saying that I'm useless with Instagram. I can't crack that code. For some reason, my reels don't get any views, even though it's the same reel that got like 1 million or 2 million on TikTok.
Yeah, the platforms are so different. I think that's maybe something that I don't know whether a lot of people understand, but the audience and the platforms are so vastly different that the same content, I don't think the same content can be used on all three platforms. I think if you're successful on one, the same doesn't hit on the other. So that my team are going to actually help me. That's one of the things we sat and had a meeting this week. My team are actually going to be involved in helping me develop TikTok. It won't be me, it'll be all of us, which I think will
My
be pretty fun
team,
actually.
look at you. Got a whole social media team. Must be nice. Some
No,
of
we haven't
us,
got a
some of
social
us have
media
to sing for our
team.
supper out here.
No, it's not a social media team. It's my actual team,
Don't be
my
modest.
actual cleaning team. We're all going to be on the TikTok. That's what we've decided because I just can't. I don't understand the platform. It drives me nuts.
The type of content you do will do well on TikTok once the algorithm picks up on it. I don't get Instagram. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. There's obviously something I'm doing wrong. But what you said about cross-posting not doing well on different platforms, I've seen plenty of people who will literally just repost their TikToks, their cleaning TikToks, and they get the same, if not more, views on Instagram. So I don't really get it. Maybe it's
Okay.
just an algorithmic thing where it doesn't like my account because sometimes it can just be like lightning in a bottle where the algorithm picks you up for one video and then all of a sudden they start showing you to everyone. Because like that's what happened on TikTok. I just had that one Bunnings video. It got 5 million views and 30,000 followers. And then everything after that has just been consistently good.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I'm no social media expert, and I don't do any research or education on it either. So we just will hit it and see what sticks.
Do you have any sort of formula for the videos that you post on Instagram or do you just throw stuff out there?
Yeah, I do kind of have a formula. People really like I mean, obviously everybody likes the really filthy videos. That's what everybody froths over most. But my videos always have like a story. So if you notice, they always have something that engages them. So I always put like the story of the client, and I feel like that's what keeps people watching. And then, of course, Instagram loves that because it thinks everybody's engaged in it then. So if it's just a straight video with no captions or writing on it, I find it doesn't do as well as the ones where I actually put information about the clients. Those are the ones that usually hit the mark.
Yeah, exactly. Stories are the best because the way the algorithm works, it favors watch time. And if you start
Mm.
listening to a story that is interesting to you, you're not going to quit halfway through because you want to get to the end to find out how the story panned out. So by doing that, you get people to watch through to the end, and the algorithm sees like, oh, people are actually engaging with this video and watching the whole thing. So I'm going to push it out to more people. And that's why my whole TikTok is just me storytelling, or like I'll, even if it's not talking about a story, I will have an engaging hook at the start, and then I will hint at the payoff being at the end of the video. Like these are the three
Yeah.
things you need to do in your business. If you want to learn what it is, stick around to the end.
Ah,
Um, so those videos always do well. If I talk about anything and just the word story time is like a big buzzword. If you just say story time and talk about anything, you get a whole bunch of views. But I was talking to you about this as well, where I was posting a lot of business content and every video was getting less than 5,000 views. And
Yeah.
I think I said to you, watch this. The next video I post is going to be very formulatic in the sense that um, I know what's going to hit, and so I'm going to do this shower cleaning video that's like under 60 seconds, very punchy, educational, but also cool to watch. And I was like, once I post this, it's going to get a million. And I posted it a week ago, and it's already at 800,000, and it's revived
Yeah.
my account again.
Yeah. See, so you know what works for you. So it's sometimes it's not worth going off the mark. If you've got a plan in terms of your social media, then you need to stick with what works. I don't know what works for me on TikTok at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm just
and
like,
then once you
it's so
find it,
random.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people struggle with that as well. They're like, what do I post? What do I post? And the answer is it's going to be different for everyone. Like you just have to throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and then just do more and more of that. Like if you
Yeah.
scroll to the very bottom of my account, the videos I started posting are so different to what I post now. And I'm sure it's the exact same for you because you finally figured out what works and then you just kept doing that and getting better at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, above all else, social media is just fun. Do you feel the same way where like you would do it even if not many people really watched it or if you made no money from it? Because I just love documenting stuff and putting it out there.
Well, I don't make any money from my Instagram. I don't make any money from social media.
You do get a lot of views and followers though, which, you know, will equate to money down the line and you're just around the corner for that. But like, yeah, even if I got no views on my videos, I would still put it out there because I'm someone that loves to just document the journey because I know that one day I'm probably going to regret not doing it,
Yeah. I
which
do
is
feel
why
like I probably would still do it. I never, when I post, I don't ever think, oh, how many people are going to watch me? I post it because I'm like, oh, yeah, I just want to talk about that and get that out there. So I don't ever really do anything for the gratification of how many people are going to watch it. Does that make sense? So I probably would still do it.
it is a bit of a dopamine hit as well when a video does well. And like it's cool to know that you created that and now you've got this whole group of people in the comments talking about it and enjoying it as well. And like one thing I really want to do when I built the business up a little bit more is do YouTube. And so I just want to do like proper, like have a cameraman with me filming my day, building a
Hey, a day in the
business,
life of.
but like consistently every day, just filming myself building a business. And then like in a couple of years' time, I can look back and I can be like, this business that I built to 5, 10 million, I documented that whole journey on YouTube. And that's like, money can't really buy that. That's one of those things where you just have to do it for the experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough about social media. I'm going to ask you another stupid question
They're
because
never a
I
stupid questions. Go on.
this one is, if you could clean for any person living or dead, who would it be? Celebrity.
Celebrity.
Yes,
Robin Williams.
that's a good pick. That's an interesting pick.
Yeah.
Why do you just love his movies or?
Yeah, I like his movies, and I always think I always thought he was a really quirky character, and of course he committed suicide.
Mhm.
And I feel like he must have had mental health challenges, or I think he did have mental health challenges, didn't he?
I believe he had dementia or Alzheimer's, but he had a really rare form of it, which is like rapid degeneration of the brain. So like people that get
Wow.
this within a couple of weeks, they go from being completely normal to basically that. It's not like the regular one where, you know, it's over
It's
a period of a couple of
slowly.
years. It's just like
Yeah.
rapid degeneration, which is really sad, and it is actually
I
really
feel like
rare as far as I'm
he
aware.
he was a genius. I feel like Robin Williams was a genius, and I think like he would have been a really fun person to clean for.
Well, that's a really profound answer. I was going to say a Kardashian for myself.
Why am I not surprised you'd pick a Kardashian?
I just want to know the gossip. I want to know what goes on behind closed doors.
Really?
I want to be nosy. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're so vapid. They're empty. They're empty
That's
celebrities.
what they want you to know. That's what they want you to think. That's what they put out there.
No, they are.
But if you look at it, there's like four of them now that are like billionaires. I want to know what they talk about off camera. I bet that would be really interesting.
I bet you wouldn't be. So let me know if you ever go, and you can call me in the car on the way back and be like, that was shit. I'm never doing that again.
Maybe I just switch up my whole persona and try to be like the Hollywood maid. I'm going to move out to Los Angeles and just start trying to clean for celebrities.
Nah, you'd get bored pretty quickly, I reckon.
Have you ever dealt with a celebrity? Have you ever had to clean for someone? Or...
No, I haven't. The closest I've ever come, my best friend Nettie is a nurse, and she actually cared for Hugh Jackman's. I'll have to check that this is allowed to be published, but she did some work for, yeah, looked after Hugh Jackman's mother-in-law. That's the closest I've ever come to celebrity.
I've cleaned for a few people, like a lot of Aussie TV people. So I don't think I can name names, but like um, 3 or 4 billionaires as well. I think because we just do regular domestic, we tend to deal with them a lot more because like this the type of stuff you do is it's
Who's
unlikely
it?
that you would deal with a
It's
celebrity.
it's unlikely, although we've had more lawyers that we've done hoarder cleans for than any other profession, interestingly.
Do you think there's a reason to that? Is it because of how lawyers operate in general, like the whole mental? Do you think they just get to a point where they're so stressed that it becomes a thing, or
I feel like chaos at work equals chaos at home, and I think the chaos at home gets out of control. But yeah, with lawyers,
well, something I learned recently is that the vast majority of business people and professionals that have heart attacks and die, they have a heart attack on a Monday, and
yeah.
it's because they're carrying their work week into the weekend, and it just boils over to a point where they're so stressed that they're still working on the weekend when they want to be enjoying family time and just cutting it out of their head that they have a heart attack on a Monday. It's like it's a real thing. Apparently, the majority of heart attacks for business people and professionals is on a Monday.
Wow, I'm going to Google that actually when we come off this podcast.
Yeah.
That's an interesting fact, that is.
Yeah, so if you want to live longer, just don't work weekends, which is, and I just worked a whole Saturday, so look
Me
at me go.
too.
Well, hopefully I get this episode out before Monday in case.
I mean, I have a prime age for heart attack. I'm heart attack material, so probably should get it at ASAP.
Do you do plenty of cardio? Do you keep fit these days? I mean, the cleaning would keep you fit.
The cleaning keeps me fit, although I'm trying to get off the tools as much as I can, but I not as much because of my neck.
Do you want to talk about that as well? Because we're kind of in a similar boat where I had a car accident and I've now got a neck issue that I'm dealing with and will probably deal with until I'm dead. And you had a car accident as well, which ended up being a lot worse, probably because the safety wasn't as good in the car. But how have you kind of dealt with that, and how do you navigate that doing the work that you do?
It's hard. It's hard because yeah, sometimes the pain is quite intense and it gives me a greater appreciation for the clients that we dealt with that have ended up in really bad situations because of injury. You know, they've turned to alcohol or they've become depressed, all those kind of things. I can understand that because the pain that I have now in my neck and my shoulder is constant. Keeps me awake at night. I'm really sore and stiff in the mornings. Like I get sore and stiff. I can't sit in the same position for long periods of time. I've been sleeping on the spare bed for months because I can no longer sleep on my own mattress on my bed because now it's too hard for me. So it's debilitating, but I'm just hoping that with, I think the worst thing that can happen is for you to stop. Once you stop, I feel like it's game over. So I just have to keep going. And I'm hoping that I can keep going for another 10 years. And then maybe in 10 years, the surgery that will be available will be advanced and it won't be as major as what it is now, and the prognosis would be much more positive. I'm just going to stick the light on, it's getting dark here. The reason
Yeah.
why surgery is not really an option, it is an option, but the problem is because I've got three discs very close together, they're all like next to each other.
Complications are really likely.
Yeah, the complications are really likely. Yeah, because they can't do just one because we don't know which one is causing the pain. So I could go in for surgery, have a disc removed or replaced, and be absolutely no different. And I don't think they'll do all three at the same time. So It's like for me, surgery is a nothing left to lose option when I'm in so much pain that I can't cope anymore, that it can't get any worse.
Has that surgery progressed at all in the past couple decades? Like, has it gotten marginally better?
I feel like it's probably I don't feel like they used to know how to do disc replacements. I don't feel like that ever was a thing. I don't think they could ever actually like take one out and put a new one back in. So I feel like that's relatively, I don't know exactly, but I feel like that might be a recent advancement, but I'm hoping that 10 years, because a lot can happen in 10 years in the medical industry. I'm hoping that there will be something better out there. But I have
Especially
to
at this
face,
rate too, like everything
yeah,
is rapidly accelerating, like at a pace we'd
yeah.
never seen before.
I have to face the reality that, you know, when I have grandkids, I'm not going to be able to hold, like, I already can't hold children. You know, my friend's got a little one, I can't hold him for very long. Already have limitations. I can't turn properly to the right anymore. I get sharp stabbing pain. So I know that that's going to progress. I'm just hoping that mentally, um, yeah, I'm able to cope with it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's something I'm a little bit wary of too because someone said something to me which is kind of stuck, and he said the pain that you're experiencing now is going to be or is going to mean surgery when you're older. And I was like, because it is a constant thing for me. It's like it's not bad. It's like a 2 or 3 out of 10 at worst, but it's always there, and it's not something that's
Yeah.
going to get better on its own. So, like that's something I'm really, really closely monitoring these days, and I try not to do much physical work, especially stuff where I could be tweaking my neck and even my shoulder's not so great. So I'm trying not to
The
do
shoulder.
yeah, I'm trying not to do many like initial cleans because there's so much more scrubbing involved. I'm trying not to do any window cleaning. I just leave that to other team members. So like just learning what my limitations are and working with that is something I'm trying to be a lot more proactive about. And I suppose it would be the same for you as well because it is tough and you do hear a lot of stories about people who have had a chronic pain or something debilitating like that and they've gone down a downward spiral and it hasn't ended well. And like that guy who killed that healthcare CEO, the reason he did that is because he had a back surgery that didn't go so well and he's in debilitating pain in his 20s now. And so his life is
Wow.
ruined at a young age and that's why
Yeah.
he did what he did. But yeah, it's really no joke that sort of stuff. It can ruin people's well-being and mental
It
health.
can. The pain is, and it's scary for everybody else around as well. Like when I have episodes where I have the sharp stabbing, it literally sometimes is so bad it makes me drop to the ground because it literally makes my neck, my arm is useless for about 3 minutes, can't move it. But it makes me drop to the ground and I get all it's just like so intense that it's scary for other people that are around me as well. You know, they have to watch me and then wait for me to be like, I'm okay, I'll go away, I'll go away. You know, and at any moment in time, if that disc bursts, it's like game over. Like I've become a paraplegic. Like that's the reality of what my life is like at the moment and from now on. You know, if I'm ever in a car accident, geez, like it's probably no hope for me. There's things that I'm never going to be able to do that I love, like never go on a roller coaster again. I'm probably never going to do things like go ice skating. So all of these things that I love to do and adrenaline things, I'm never going to be able to do them again. I used to go, you know, like when you go on the roller coasters and you see those signs like anybody with neck and back injuries don't go
Mhm.
on these. And I used to be like, whatever. But now I'm one of those people.
Yeah, that sucks.
It sucks.
It does, yeah. But on the bright side, there's still so many things that you can do. You still can
Yeah.
build a great business, which you're doing now. So we always just have to look at the positives. Like it is all about perspective too. Like when I had my accident, there's a couple of things I could have just gotten depressed about, like the money side of things, because I lost a lot of money. Um, I could have been way more upset about the injuries I had, but then I realized like first of all, I'm lucky to even be alive. So thank God for that. And I don't have a particularly serious injury. I didn't have an amputation. That's like the first thing I did when I woke up in the ambulance is I just made sure I had my arms and my legs and I took a photo of myself to make sure my face was intact. And I was like, okay, this isn't so bad after all.
You,
So
you know
sorry, what
that
were you
happened
gonna say?
to actually one of my friends in the UK. She actually has had both hands and her legs
You
amputated
told
this
me
year.
about that. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. And was that the
She was a
result
cleaner.
of an accident?
No, that was the result of an insect bite on the beach.
Really? So
Got
she's had
infected,
both hands amputated.
both
That's
hands and both
terrible.
feet, both to the knees. She was a cleaner.
Wow. So would she have a full-time carer then?
No, she's fucking no. Is she hell? She's managing on her own. She's got two prosthetic legs. She's going to have the first robotic hand in Wales. I think she's going to get two, or maybe she can't get one because she's still got a thumb and like a nub on one hand, but her other one is just she's got no, literally no fingers. Um, but no, she's not. She doesn't have a carer. She's trying to be as independent as she possibly can. She's a really strong woman, actually. She's a bit of an inspiration.
Incredible. Good on her. And
Mm.
there are those two different types of people where they might have something tragic or catastrophic happen and they'll just kind of give up and they'll be a shell of their former self. And then like I've seen this 18-year-old kid who was in a forklift accident and he had his entire lower half
I've seen him,
cut off.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
he's still
like
alive.
everything below his belly button is just cut off
Yeah,
and sewed shut. And he's not only alive, but he's like happy as hell.
happy. Yeah,
He married the girl that he was with before the accident and seemingly has a great life. So I mean
see,
we can complain about the problems we have, but if there's people like that out there that are
yeah,
loving life, like what do we
nothing
really
in
have to complain about? Yeah.
nothing in comparison.
So yeah. But what actually happened in your accident? Because obviously we know what happened in mine, but I don't think I ever asked you.
So I where I live, there was a long hilly road with a really long sweeping right hand bend, and on the sweeping right hand bend was a truck stop. I was on my way to a job interview. I'd been made redundant from my other job. I'd saved up for 12 months and bought my car 10 days before. And I was driving, and when you go up and down like these hills, you can see all the way in the distance. So I'm coming up, and I come up as to the over the last hill, and there's a truck with his indicator on the left hand side. And because I knew the road, I thought he was just waiting for a gap to get into the truck stop. So I went to overtake him just before the sweeping right hand bend. I was driving at, I think it was 80 miles an hour, and a car pulled out of a turning in front of the truck, and I literally just went head on. So she was driving at no speed pretty much, and yeah, I was driving at 80 miles an hour, which I think is close to 100 Ks, and my car was an absolute wreck.
Well, 60 miles per hour is 100, so that would have been like 120-ish.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
was like, and I
that's a
literally,
lot worse than what I thought it was actually.
yeah. So the impact um made my car hit the curb. So obviously, because I saw her as well, that's what gave me the injury, I think. Because of course, when something happens that you see is coming, I'd braced, and the brace is probably the worst that you can do when you have a head
Yeah.
on, because the shock goes all the way up. But I'd obviously braced, but then the car like went up against the curb, and as it went up, it flipped around. Then the front axle was completely gone. It was like an absolute wreck, and it was a big beast of a car back then. Like it was a sturdy car. I went blind in one eye temporarily, and yeah, I ended up had really bad whiplash. 16 weeks I was off work for was really bad, but now we know it was probably not whiplash, it was an actual neck injury, but we just didn't have the capacity to look at things back then, you know, back when
Wow.
I was a young gun.
Well, thank God you're still here, terrorizing the whole cleaning community and the real estate agents out
Terrorizing
there.
the cleaning community. I know.
Realtors hate this woman.
Me too. Apart from a select few,
Okay,
landlords do
well,
too.
I want to talk a lot more about business, so we can take a little break here and then we'll go into the second part, which will just be focused about strategy, tactic, and a lot of your wisdom and experience. So we'll take a little intermission and then we'll be back.